The Congress has not done what the framers of the Constitution demanded that they do, which is stand up and be independent and be fearless and be courageous and not let a president just do whatever he wants.
Jim Webb was one of the first voices to stand up and say that this incursion into Iraq would not make our country safer. Jim Webb has been talking about and fighting for the fact that growing economic disparity between the haves and have-nots doesn't make our country stronger, it makes us weaker.
Because this is one guy who's fearless, who's courageous, who's not going to let a president or a Karl Rove push him around or back him off of anything. Let me bring up the next senator from Virginia, Jim Webb.
We've had a situation here in the past couple of days, and on the one hand, it's kind of ridiculous, but on the other, I want to spend a little bit of time today and talk to you about it. Because when George Allen and his campaign took some small excerpts from my novels and not only criticized them, but used them to question my ethics, my professional writing career, and my character, that's a line that should never be crossed. You know, you can disagree with me with politics, but don't question my faith and don't question my character. I want to go through some of these books just a little bit for you. This is not literature class, but you know, there's stuff going around on the blog. Somebody sent me a couple of them talking about these sleazy novels that I've written. Well, let's start with Fields of Fire. It's a classic novel of the Vietnam War. It's been on the Commandant of the Marine Corps' reading list for 20 years. It was the most taught piece of American literature on college courses regarding the Vietnam War for many, many years. The Houston Post when I wrote the book, the Houston Post said, few writers since Stephen Crane have portrayed men at war with such a ring of steely truth. Time magazine said the unmistakable sound of truth acquired the hard way. I'm saying truth because think of what these people are saying. A Sense of Honor is a book, now it's called a Blue Jacket book, published by the Naval Institute. The Boston Globe called it a remarkable moral statement. A country such as this, the Wall Street Journal, no friend to Democrats, said, a powerful moving drama of impressive scale, a major work of our time, something to die for. Webb is as much a moral philosopher of the military as a novelist. In a time when fiction seems to find it harder and harder to address moral issues, this makes him a valuable man to the typewriter. The Washington Post. The Washington Post. A century from now, James Webb will be studied for the light he sheds on military life and civil-military relations. John Del Vecchio, author, a masterpiece as timely as tomorrow's news. The Emperor's General, historical fiction of a high order. Webb fuses fact and fictional experience through hypnotic storytelling, etc., etc. Lost Soldiers, which has come into such question. A masterpiece, one of the most poignant and powerful novels of this generation. You will come away a different person after you've read it. Walter Anderson, Parade Magazine. A great, perhaps definitive depiction of the Vietnam that America left behind, The Asia Reporter. Los Angeles Times, a strong and unusual novel. Webb knows what he writes about. His rendering of Americans in modern Asia is reminiscent of Joseph Conrad's portraits of Westerners in the East a century ago. I am sorry I had to go through all that, but I am proud of what I have written. I've lived in the real world, and I've reported the real world in my writings. I started working when I was 12 years old. I fought in a brutal war. I saw its ugliness while George Allen was hanging out at a dude ranch. I got shot at again covering the Marines in Beirut in 1983 as a journalist. I went on operations in Afghanistan, not as a pampered government official coming in for his dog and pony show briefings, but as a correspondent, walking on patrols, combat patrols, and sleeping on the ground. And I was reporting from the slums of Bangkok when George Allen was schlepping around in his limo. No offense to our former governors. The most important point I'm trying to make here is that I have written about what I have seen, and that is a duty of a writer, to help people understand the world around us with all of its beauty and all of its flaws. Now, maybe George Allen doesn't understand that since I'm told he doesn't read books. Somebody told me yesterday that I've written more books than George Allen has read, but then somebody else said maybe that was the other George, so I'm not totally sure about that. But let us all, here is a group, because there are many, many people who have been with me all through this. Let's review the bidding on this. Last spring, there was a New Republic article, or two New Republic articles about George Allen, making a lot of allegations about him. They asked me to comment on that. I said, that's not relevant to what I'm trying to do. The Macaca incident occurred. They asked me to comment on that. What were my views of George Allen? I said, I'm not going to comment on that. I will comment on the fact he attacked one of my members of my campaign staff, but the rest of it, I'm not commenting on it. There was a question regarding his heritage during the debates. They asked me to comment on that. I refused. I passed on all of these, while the Allen campaign has made smear tactics the centerpiece of their entire effort. Now, why? Why have they done that? Because George Allen has nothing to report. He has no accomplishments. He has been wrong on foreign policy. He is one of the reasons that we are bogged down right now in a nightmare in Iraq. He's been a key figure in selling out the average American worker in order to protect the interests of the powerful who have always paid his way. And by attacking my career and my ethics in this way, if anyone has any doubts from other indicators, he has now shown his true character. And people, George Allen's got some campaign people at the top who are famous for this kind of stuff. But let's never forget the old adage: if you want to find accountability for this, remember that the fish rots from the head down. It's time for all of us to say that our government should no longer be in the hands of a group of unprincipled, small-minded, power-hungry character assassins. We got 10 days, folks. We got 10 days. We can really begin to turn this country around. All of us working together can make a difference, and you have my pledge that I will never forget my loyalties. Thank you very much.